Good morning. I am Dr.Remila, Assistant Professor, Science and Humanity Department, Manuel RSHJ College of Engineering. Today's topics: expansion joints and bimetallic strips. Expansion joints. First, I will explain expansion joint. What is expansion joint? An expansion joint is a designed gap in a structure that safely accommodate movement, preventing cracks and structural damage caused by the expansion and contraction. This two diagram represents the examples of expansion joints. The examples of the expansion joints are presented in bridges, roads and building. Okay. Next I will go to the next slide. The functions of expansion joint. What is the functions of expansion joint? Allow expansion and contraction due to the temperature changes. Reduce stresses in structural members. Reduce stresses in structural members. Prevent uncontrolled cracking. Prevent uncontrolled cracking. Accommodate differential movement between the adjacent parts of a structure. Then improve the durability and service life of the structure. This is the functions of expansion joint. Then the common applications of expansion joint. What are the common applications? Concrete road and pavements, bridges, buildings, airport runways, sidewalks, industrial floors. These used the expansion joints in the common applications. Then the types of expansion joint. What are the types of expansion joint? The first one is the building expansion joints. Building expansion joint. They separate different parts of the building to accommodate movement. Separate different part of a building to accommodate movement. The examples of building expansion joint is: in a long concrete building, a small gap is provided between the two sections of the building. This gap allows the building to expand and contract due to the temperature changes and prevent cracks. Okay. This is the examples of building expansion joint. The expansion joints in a long apartment building or school buildings. This is the building expansion joints. Then bridge expansion joint. Allow bridge decks to expand and contract under temperature changes and traffic loads. Allow bridge decks to expand and contract under temperature changes and traffic loads. The examples of the bridge expansion joint is: a bridge deck has a small gap between that section covered with a flexible metal or rubber joint. This is called a bridge expansion joint. A bridge deck has a small gap between the sections covered with a flexible metal or rubber joint. This is called a bridge expansion joint. Next, pavement expansion joint. What is one? Pavement means hard surface of the road. It means hard surface of the road. They placed at regular intervals in concrete pavement to prevent random cracking. Placed at regular intervals in concrete pavement to prevent random crackings. It takes the example: the concrete road slabs with gaps between them or an examples of pavement expansion joints. Pavement expansion joint. The examples are the concrete road slabs with gaps between them are an examples of pavement expansion joints. Next one is the pipe expansion joint. Flexible joints are bellows used in pipelines to absorb the thermal expansion. Pipe expansion joint means the flexible joints or bellows used in pipelines to absorb thermal expansion. The examples of pipe expansion joint is in a long hot water or steam pipe, an expansion joint is provided to allow the pipe to expand and contract due to the temperature changes without bending or cracking. The pipe expansion joints, the examples are in a long hot water or steam pipe, an expansion joint is provided to allow the pipe to expand and contract due to the temperature changes without bending or cracking. Then, what are the materials used? The expansion joints. Whitman impregnated fiber board, cork, rubber, neoprene, compressible foam fillers, silicone or polyurethane seal nuts. Okay, these are the materials. Next topic is bimetallic strip. What is bimetallic strip? A bimetallic strip is a strip made by joining two different metals having different coefficient of thermal expansion. A bimetallic strip is a strip made by joining two different metals having different coefficient of thermal expansion. The principle of bimetallic strip is when the strip is heated, the two metals expand by different amounts. Since they are finally joined together, the strip bends towards the metal that expands less. Okay, this is the principle. Then the construction. A bimetallic strip consists of two metals such as brass and iron joined together. Brass means expands more when heated. Iron expands less when heated. These are the construction. Working. When the two strips is at the normal temperature, it remains approximately straight. When heated, brass expands more than iron. Because of the two metals are joined, the strip bends. On cooling, it bends back towards the original position. The working of the bimetallic strip is when the strip is at normal temperature, it remains approximately straight. When heated, brass expands more than iron. Because of the two metals are joined, the strip bends. On cooling, finally it bends back towards its original position. Then application. There are thermostats in electrical appliances. The electrical ions for automatic temperature control fire alarms, circuit breakers, temperature switches. These are the applications of bimetallic strips. Then thermal expansion. Thermal expansion. What are the thermal expansion? Thermal expansion is the increase in the length, area, volume of the substance when its temperature increases. Most material expand when heated and contract when cooled. This is the definition of thermal expansion. The types of thermal expansion. What are the types? The linear expansion, area expansion, volume expansion. Linear expansion. Linear expansion means the increase the length of the solid. Increase the length of the solid. Example, a metal rod becomes longer when heated. This is the linear expansion. Area expansion. Area expansion means it is easily identified. They increase in the surface area of a solid when heated. Increase in the surface area of a solid when heated. The example, a metal sheet expands in both length and breadth. A metal sheet expands in both length and breadth. Finally, the volume expansion. Volume expansion means increase in the volume of the substance when heated. It occurs in solid, liquid and gases. The solid expansion means increase in the volume of the substance when heated. It occurs in solids, liquid and gases. The examples in daily life. The gaps are provided between the railway tracks to allow the expansion. The expansion joints are used in bridges and concrete structures. Electrical wires become slightly longer on hot days. Bimetallic strips work due to the different thermal expansion of two metals. Liquids in thermometers expand when heated. The thermal expansion must be considered in the design of bridges, railway tracks, pipelines, buildings and machines to prevent bending, cracking or damage. Then the thermal stress. The definition of thermal stress is the stress developed in a material when its thermal expansion or contraction is prevented or restricted due to the change in temperature. What is the thermal stress? The thermal stress is the stress developed in a material when its thermal expansion of contraction is prevented or restricted due to the change of temperature. Then the explanation, when a material is heated, it normally expands. When it cooled, it contracts. Okay, it's general. Two types, the free expansion, restricted expansion. No stress is produced because the material can expand freely. No stress is produced because the material can expand freely. Restricted expansion. Stress develops because the material contract, expand or contract freely. Restricted expansion, the stress developed because the Material cannot expand or contract freely. Example, if a metal rod is fixed firmly between the two rigid supports and heated, it tries to expand. Since the supports prevent expansion, compressive thermal stress develops in the rod. Similarly, when a fixed rod is cooled, it tries to contract, producing tensile thermal stress. Okay, this is the examples of thermal stress. The two types of thermal stress, one is the free expansion, another one is restricted expansion. Free expansion means no stress is produced because the material can expand freely. Restricted expansion means stress developed the material cannot expand, not contract freely. What is a thermal stress? The thermal stress is a stress developed in a material when it is the thermal expansion or contraction is prevented or restricted due to the change in temperature. This is the thermal stress. Okay. Thank you.